Hi, good afternoon. My name is Betty Ann Suhon. I'm the Agricultural Officer attached to the Plant Quarantine Unit, and I'll be doing a presentation on the ePhyto solution. Hi, good day. As I mentioned, my topic is Electronic Phytosanitary Certificate, or ePhyto for short, a new option in the trade of plant and plant products in Trinidad and Tobago. I'll give you a brief outline of my presentation, objectives, background, and the legal framework, the challenges, and the ePhyto solution, why ePhyto, who benefits, the Trinidad and Tobago ePhyto implementation, and the way forward. What is a phytosanitary certificate? Phytosanitary certificates are basically official documents issued by the national. Jeez, I'm seeing the presentation. Presentation. Okay, great. The presentation is based on the Electronic Phytosanitary Certificates, or ePhyto, a new option in the trade of plants and plant products in Trinidad and Tobago. The presentation is basically the objectives and the background and the legal framework, the challenges that we experience, and the ePhyto solution, why ePhyto, who benefits, Trinidad and Tobago ePhyto implementation, and the way forward. What is a phytosanitary certificate? A phytosanitary certificates are official documents issued by the National Plant Protection Organization, or the NPPO. They confirm that shipments of plants and plant products being traded internationally are free of pests and disease, and therefore safe to import. These certificates are issued for commodities imported into Trinidad and Tobago. In that case, the phytosanitary certificates are received from the country of export. So for example, if we are importing cabbages from Costa Rica, the phytosanitary certificate will be issued by the NPPO of Costa Rica. Similarly, it's also phytosanitary certificates are issued for exported items. This is issued by the Plant Quarantine Unit, and it is issued for commodities that are being exported. Phytosanitary certificates are basically issued only if the country can meet the import permit requirements. In order to do that, the country or the NPPO must be aware what are the import conditions of the importing country. And this is where the plant import permits comes into play. The plant import permit is an official document authorizing importation of a commodity in accordance with specified phytosanitary import requirements. Currently in Trinidad and Tobago, our plant import permit process is fully automated. The submission is electronic, as well as we have digital stamp and signature, and it is processed online and emailed to the clients. This slide simply relates the fact that the import permit would state that the consignment requires a phytosanitary certificate. We have had tremendous success in terms of the ePhyto with respect to the CARICOM trade. Basically, we had the exchange of documentations electronically to facilitate trade. These documents include the electronic transfer of phytosanitary certificates, also import permits and manifests. This facilitates trade between trade with St. Vincent and Grenada, and it's allowed for the continuation of trade among the islands during the COVID-19 period. So having given you some background to that, the objective of this session is basically to sensitize and update on the introduction of the ePhyto gens in Trinidad and Tobago. It's all geared at modernizing agricultural trade, making it simpler, faster, and more cost effective, while strengthening plant health protection and consumer safety. A little background in terms of the legal framework within which plant quarantine operates. We have our Plant Protection Act number 13 of 1975, which was amended in 2001. Also the Plant Quarantine Regulations of 1997. We are also signatories to a number of international agreements, particularly the WTO SBS agreement. With respect to that, the WTO SBS agreement, the IPPC, or the International Plant Protection Convention, is the recognized standard-setting organization for plant health. Basically, what the IPPC does, it introduces a number of ISPMs aimed at protecting world plant health resources from the spread of pests and the introduction of pests, and also making trade safe. This slide is just to show we had an amendment to our Plant Protection Act, where we had looked at certain commodities that we previously issued import permits. However, because of the process it has gone through, the risk from a plant quarantine perspective is negligible. So hence there is no need for an import permit. Right? Phytosanitary certificates are based on ISPM 12, as was mentioned above. It provides guidelines and requirements for the completing and issuance of the phytosanitary certificate. What is the challenge we face with the paper certificate? As mentioned, the phytosanitary certificates are official documents that are issued by the NPPO. These certificates are currently physical paper documents, which are transferred between different parties, either via to post, courier, or other physical means. Paper certificates can take days to obtain and are prone to errors, loss, theft, and counterfeiting. This slows the trade and results in spoiled goods, additional demurrage charges, and you have a frustrated customer and government. This slide here shows the journey of the phytosanitary certificate. So it starts off, if you are importing an item, it starts off at the national authority in the exporting country. They will have our import permit. This will then be passed on. They will issue the phytosanitary certificate based on our import permit requirements. It will be passed on to the exporter. From the exporter in that country, it will go through various intermediaries and finally reach to our importer, and then reach to the NPPO, which is the Plant Quarantine Department in Trinidad. So there are a number of steps that it has to go through or transfers. In light of that, and in light of the difficulties or the challenges with the paper certificate, we have the introduction of the ePhyto solution. ePhyto is basically short for electronic phytosanitary certificate. It is the electronic version of the information contained in a phytosanitary certificate. The IPPC Secretariat, with support from the United Nations International Computing Center, has developed this ePhyto solution to bring phytosanitary certification into the digital era. The ePhyto solution allows countries to electronically exchange ePhytos with each other through a central hub, and this is done quickly, accurately, and at low cost. The risk of loss, damage, or fraud to the certificate is greatly reduced, as also as the administrative burden. Trinidad and Tobago will be utilizing the IPPC generic e-national system, or the GENS as they call it. It's a centralized web-based system which allows countries without their own system to produce and exchange the ePhyto. Again, this gives an idea of the journey of the phytosanitary certificate. You have a number of steps, and in that there are a number of difficulties or issues that can arise because you have a number of actors involved. You may have documentary non-compliance that may take place, and again, this is going to take a long period to resolve. There's also the risk of loss or damage of the certificate during the various transfers. There's a risk of the certificate being changed or altered, or fraudulent certificate being introduced through the train of transfer. The paper certificate process can be an important bottleneck in the trade transaction. What we have observed from our data is that the documentary non-compliance is one of the major factors that results in import rejection and in the delay in the clearance. And what is fantastic with the ePhyto is that once we screen the documents and we have highlighted the documentary non-compliance, we can immediately relate to the NPPO, and these non-compliance can be rectified before the shipment arrives in Trinidad. So when the shipment arrives, there is no delay. It's just simply to clear it, and this will certainly cut costs to the client. Particularly, I put this slide here, it just shows an importation of a consignment of orchids coming from Thailand. There was a situation where the orchids did not meet one of the requirements on the import permit. It has to be free of a particular nematode, and this was not. There was a delay in rectifying the ePhyto, in rectifying the phytosanitary certificate, and this was made difficult because of the time period, because of this was Thailand. So again, the time period posed a factor here. With the introduction of the ePhyto, this will be in the past. We can address it right there and then. Having identified, we can notify the National Plant Protection Organization via our IPPC contact points, and this will be addressed. So as I said, when the shipment arrives, it's simply to clear it. I hope some of the importers here can also identify with that. From that, who benefits from the ePhyto? The National Plant Protection Organization, or the Plant Quarantine Unit, especially in developed and in the least developing countries. Implementation of the ePhyto gens will directly support the ability to expand trade by reducing the cost of doing business for the private sector, the importers, the exporters. The successful implementation of the ePhyto will result in increased ease of doing business and enhanced e-commerce opportunities. Trinidad and Tobago and all associated plant-related industries can benefit from transaction cost reduction, improved trade security, risk management, and increased trade flows. Just to give you an idea in terms of the actual implementation of the ePhyto from the importer and the exporter's viewpoint. The importer, here the importer is receiving the ePhyto. So it's being sent from the NPPO of export to the NPPO in Trinidad, who is receiving the goods. When this comes onto the ePhyto site, all our PQ officers can view the incoming ePhyto, and in that case, they can identify any documentary non-compliance, which can be addressed at that point. The exporter is emailed the Phyto to the exporter emails the Phyto to the importer or the broker, and the original is sent via courier. Once the Phyto is obtained, it is uploaded on the TT BizLink e-declaration site, and the clearance of the goods can proceed. In terms of the exporter side, they can request a Phyto through the gens as either as a company user, or they can use an approved form and submit it to the Plant Quarantine Unit via email. It's important that they attach the required documents, which includes the import permit, the invoice, and in the case of re-export, the original Phyto. PQ inspectors will process the request, the phytosanitary request, and issue the Phyto directly to the NPPO. The exporter can get a certificate from the PQ email and download it from his system. This just gives an idea. Diagrammatically, it illustrates the steps of what I described above in terms of the PQ process, the import, and it shows where the ePhyto is crucial at every step. For example, with the import, the importing country, Trinidad and Tobago, will determine what are their import requirements. They will issue the import permit. It goes to the exporting country, who will then issue the phytosanitary certificate. And at this point, as I said, queries can be addressed before the consignment arrives in TNT. Then the Phyto is uploaded into our at the Trinidad and Tobago, the Central Coordinating Unit, the TT Bisling system, where the screening of the documents take place. And we're going to ensure that there is compliance between the import permits and the phytosanitary certificate. After you have the physical inspection, if there is conformity, the decision is made. If there is required, a sample may be sent to the diagnostic laboratory. On the opposite end of the thing, on the opposite end of this scale, we have the export. A request is made for a phyto by the exporter on our GENS system. Again, as I mentioned, this can be done either using the company user or you can follow the required form. This, once the phyto is issued, it is sent. Once the a request is made, once the phyto is issued, it is sent to the country that is importing our item. And again, the process is similar. They will do their screening, their physical inspection, and make their required decision. If there is any issues, again, likewise, they can also contact us via our IPPC contact point and address any issues. So again, when you're exporting, there's minimal delay, or I want to say no delay in terms of the clearance of your cargo. So again, there's going to be improvement in trade and reduced costs, and your goods are going to clear at a much quicker rate. This gives an idea of the before and after. Here you have on the left-hand side, you have the paper phytosanitary certificates that are issued right now. And on the left-hand side, this is what you're going to see with our ePhyto system, the GEN system. This is what the new phyto is going to look like. I put this slide to show the importance of Trinidad and Tobago being on this ePhyto system, because approximately 56 countries have adopted the ePhyto, and it is imperative that Trinidad and Tobago implement this, since most of our trading partners have moved towards the implementation of the ePhyto. For example, we have Argentina, we also have Brazil, Chile, I'm seeing on the listing here. And we also have a number of our Caribbean countries. We have currently on the ePhyto, we have Jamaica and Dominica, and of course, Trinidad and Tobago. The ePhyto Solution Project basically facilitates the electronic transfer of phytosanitary certificates. The system will enable Trinidad and Tobago to produce, send, and receive phytosanitary certificates according to the ISPM 12. Trinidad and Tobago is currently on the platform for ePhyto. This gives an idea of the capacity building or the training that our plant quarantine staff has been engaged in. We had tremendous assistance and coaching from Mr. Michael Perry attached to the USDA APHIS. We have currently trained most of our plant quarantine officers, and this training was not only lectures, but it was also based on discovery-based and hands-on learning, where they were actually able to go onto the test site and produce ePhytos, and they did a number of exercises. If they had any issues or whatever, we would try to troubleshoot and assist them in any way. So most of them has been trained on the ePhyto. I put these slides here to show our inspectors in action doing inspections. Here we have our inspectors at the bonds. This shows our inspectors doing containerized inspections, sweet peppers and bananas. Here we have at the Queen's Wharf, the CARICOM Wharf, which I mentioned was a tremendous success with the ePhyto during the COVID-19, where, one of the things was to minimize social interaction. What we did is the ePhytos, the phytos and the import permits were emailed to us, right? And so trade at CARICOM was able to continue unhindered. This shows our inspector inspecting with the use of, I put this in here to show the use of the mobile app. And again, the mobile app has been really instrumental in terms of our movement towards the digital era. And also, we are going to use the mobile app to issue the ePhyto on off-station locations. So, for example, if they have to go to the consignee's premises where the item is being packed, they can use the mobile app to do the inspection as well as issue the Phyto right on spot. The way forward, we are currently registering our importers and exporters and their representative. We are continuing the training session on the ePhyto. The importers and exporters will be notified. And again, we just have our contact. It's planquarantine.centeno@gov.tt or phone 280-7938. I put this slide here to let people know that collaboration is important in anything to ensure success. And at this point, I want to say, I want to recognize the collaborative efforts of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, who assisted tremendously in moving plant quarantine services into the digital era. Our clients, what are the benefits of this? Our clients have a better experience in terms of moving into the digital era. We have tremendous benefits. For example, for our organization, there has been increased productivity, as well as it has allowed us to capture data. So our planning is data driven. And because of that, we are able to allow our clients to experience to have a better experience in terms of clearing their cargo or engaging in business activities with us. And this has resulted in a reduction in their losses, and the cost of clearing their cargo of imported items have also reduced. I want to acknowledge Mr. Perry of the United States APHIS, United States Department of Agriculture APHIS, the Ministry of the management and staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, the PS, the CTO, the director, the staff of the Research Division, Crop Protection, Subdivision, Plant Quarantine, importers, exporters, brokers, and representatives, and many of other stakeholders. Thank you for taking the time during the lunch hour to participate and listen to this very important topic, ePhyto, and how it will impact and how we are going to roll out. If you have, I'll be kind enough, if you have any questions, I will try my best to respond. Okay. Okay. Hi. So I can answer some of the questions that were posted. Okay, the first question I have here is from Mr. Dixon. He indicated he submitted a plant import permit on the 10th of the 1st, and it was approved on the 4th of the 2nd. Now, there may be many issues, but one possible is due to the possible queries. This could have resulted in the delays in the processing of the permit. But feel free to contact us via email, for any queries or any additional assistance that we can provide. Yes, the only criteria with the permit is that you must be a resident of Trinidad and Tobago according to our Plant Quarantine Act. Okay, I'm seeing a question from Mr. Waldron. Can can a country listed be penalized for not following the ePhyto regulations? Okay, that's a very pertinent question, Mr. Waldron, and I'm glad you brought up that. The WTO, World Trade Organization, would normally deal with matters relating to this nature. Yes, it is the another question has come in. Has the ePhyto system been implemented? Yes, it is currently being rolled out. As mentioned, the importers and exporters will be contacted, and there will be future sessions in terms of training and how they access it. We had a number, in fact, we have had a number of sessions with our importers and exporters in terms of providing information about it and how to access it and what is required. I just want to let you all know that the PowerPoint presentation will be shared. Will the ePhyto be the set standard of the ministry and move to further advance into technology? Yes, as was mentioned, plant quarantine, if I take this question, plant quarantine has been moving into the digitalization of its services, and we have moved from the import permit, which is totally online, and we have also adopted the electronic processing of the e-declaration on the TT BizLink, and we have moved that a step further in terms of introducing the mobile app. So not only do we screen and assign the job to the officers utilize the mobile app when doing the inspection and collecting the data, and now we have gone on to the ePhyto solution. So yes, that is correct, a good observation. Okay, so I have this question here. I'm a home gardener and I wish to import a few packets of seed. How do I go about it? Well, in order to import plants and plant products inclusive of seeds, you need to apply for a plant import permit and a phytosanitary certificate, which is one of the requirements. Again, to apply for a plant, as I said, our applications are made online. You have to register with TT Connect and TT BizLink, and this is a one-time registration. Once that is done, you log on to the TT BizLink site and you can submit your application. It comes into our plant quarantine inbox. It is processed. It takes at least 3 to 5 working days once there are no queries. If there are queries, we would query the application and it goes back to your inbox. You are to address the query and resend it. And once the application is processed, it is emailed to the client. There is no, you don't have to come into our office to collect the certificate. And the plant quarantine permit is valid for 1 year from the date of issue. Just to add to that, when you obtain the certificate, it is important that the conditions on the certificate be met. These are what we call the phytosanitary conditions, and these must be met prior to the importation of the item. Please free to contact us via email. We'll put the email on our chat, plantquarantine.centeno@gov.tt, or you can call us at 280-7938 for any further clarification. I'm seeing another question coming up here. This exemption list, and I assume you're referring to the amendment on the Plant Quarantine Act. The exemption list does not include plants and seeds used for religious purposes. Are these exempted? Okay, so how we determine what goes on the exemption list? The exemption list follows international standards. These are the ISPMs, as I mentioned before. And a list will be placed on our online information portal, which we are currently developing in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Right. Okay, so if you have okay, any comments, if needs be, and a question should come later on, please feel free to place it onto the Facebook and we will respond to it subsequently. Okay. Well, again, let me take this opportunity to thank all those who took the time off to view the session. We really do appreciate it. And as mentioned, this is very important because Trinidad and Tobago trade with a number of countries and a number of countries who are on the ePhyto system. So it's important. And as was mentioned, if you need any further clarification, please feel free to contact us at plantquarantine.centeno@gov.tt. It will be placed on the chat, or you can call us at 280-7938. Again, thank you. Thank you very much.